for keeping us honest.
My handwriting pretty much stinks anyway.
Apple ID. What is it?
The 4?
There's a 4. Capital X.
Capital X. Oh, so capital, okay, so 4. X,
Capital.
small d, exclamation point, and sign, and what the hell?
Yeah, I didn't even notice the Mariko thing until I got to the agenda, and I'm like, wait, is Mariko, is it the vice chair who's supposed to be doing the selection? Because we don't do that often. That maybe I was wrong.
Oh, I'm trying not to get them together. Okay, and then what did you do for my Apple? So then how actions?
Have it ready. Are you on April there?
Yeah, they're on route. Wait, I'm going to my read. So
Okay, so third time. That did not change.
okay.
Okay, when everybody is back and ready, please turn on your video so we can get an idea whether or not we think we might have a quorum.
I don't want to show you my face, but I'm here.
Okay. Thank you, Deb.
I am major casual, so yeah. It's almost like jammies.
Oh, stop teasing us, Debbie. Come on.
It's bad. Okay.
Do that. There you go. I'll just do that.
All right.
Good eye, Rich.
It doesn't look that big when it's in the back of the room. Bad robot. Is there a story behind that?
No, it's just my wife and I were big fans of Lost when it was on the air, and you know, always ending with a bad robot. So that was one of the gifts along the way.
Well,
Okay.
that production company must do other shows because I didn't watch Lost, but I remember seeing that, and I can't remember from what show.
Well, they're all, you know, I think they've just continued. It's Lost and Westworld, and I don't know. Lots of
One of these days, Larry, you're gonna have to explain to me the ending of that series.
yeah, that's a
'Cause I
whole
was
other
lost.
thing.
You're right.
From the ending.
Yes. Okay. I think we have the majority of people back on, it looks like. And we still have a few members of the public. Okay.
Give it a try.
Yeah, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. So start the stream.
It's already going.
Oh,
Everybody could see us being a little cash for a little bit.
okay. Sounds good. Okay, so let's call to order the Board of Directors meeting for the Cities Association of Santa Clara County. Andy, maybe we have the roll call?
Campbell.
Here.
Cupertino.
Here.
Gilroy. Marie, you there? Okay, well, we'll see. Los Altos.
Lisa, Los Altos.
No, I know, but Jan is here.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yep.
Okay, well,
She is.
Looking for Jan.
Here, but she's
Okay.
actually here. Yeah.
Dan's muted.
okay.
Oh, there she
Los
is.
Altos Hills.
Here.
Los Gatos.
Here.
Milpitas. Carmen is
I'm here.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Montecito,
Here.
Morgan Hill,
Here.
Mountain View,
Here.
Palo Alto,
Here.
San Jose,
Here.
Santa Clara,
Here.
Saratoga,
Here.
and Sunnyvale.
Here.
Great.
Andy, I'm here for Los Altos. It's Jan.
Great. Good to see you, Jan.
Nice to see all of you.
Okay. First up is a consent agenda. Does anyone have any questions for our consent?
Can you pop up an agenda again?
Yep. Hold
Andy?
on. Let me share the screen.
Great. The bigger, the better.
Okay, hold on. I'm not sure I can get this one any bigger. Is that good?
Good enough. Thank you.
I can. There we go.
Good, good. Thank you.
Okay. Was there any questions about the consent agenda? Okay, is there a motion?
I move to approve consent. It's Mariko Los Gatos.
Thank you, Mariko.
Second,
And who seconded?
Mary Lynn.
Oh, thank you,
Thank you,
Mary
Mary
Lynn.
Lynn.
Okay, Andy? Can we have a
Campbell.
voice vote?
Cupertino,
Aye.
Gilroy. Marie, are you there? She's muted. I can't unmute Marie. I don't know if Mariko or, okay, so I'll just let that one go. Los Altos,
Yes.
Los Altos Hills,
Yes.
Los Gatos,
Yes.
Milpitas,
Yes.
Montecito,
Yes.
Morgan Hill. Rich, he left. Okay.
Aye. I'm sorry. Forgot to unmute.
Thank you. Mountain View,
Aye.
Palo Alto,
Hi.
San Jose,
Aye.
Santa Clara,
Aye.
Saratoga,
Aye.
and Sunnyvale.
Aye.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, next up is committee appointments, committee and appointee reports. First up is the LAC committee. Nisa?
Thanks, Chair. I have two things reporting out of the LAC meeting earlier today. The first is we approved and are recommending that we adopt the updated housing position paper. And I don't know if the board has had an opportunity to review the draft, but the committee made a couple of changes and then approved the draft with those changes incorporated. And I'll quickly go through those changes. The first one is on the second page of the draft housing position paper. After it reads, it is the consensus of the Cities Association of Santa Clara County that we support legislation that goes on to talk about the 55% threshold. At the end of that paragraph, we've added the words preservation protection. So the end of that paragraph now reads housing production, preservation, and protection. The third we support paragraph on the same page, we have reworded the first sentence to read, we support the allocation of funds by the governor, state legislature, and other sources that will benefit California cities. And it goes on to the current.
Okay.
On the third page, where we talk about supporting the creation of policies and emergency relief efforts, we have reworded that to now read, we support the creation of policies and emergency relief efforts to help individuals stay in their homes during publicly declared emergencies. And with those changes, Chair, we approved the housing position paper.
Okay.
Andy, did I miss any? Those are the ones I have.
No, those were the ones that were, those were the changes from the draft that we included.
Great, thank
So,
you. And then the
Great.
second report out, do you want to take that one first, Chair?
go right ahead. Yeah.
The second item, the committee voted to recommend to the board to send a letter opposing AB 1279. That's the Bloom bill. There were several reasons stated why they believe the Cities Association should oppose that bill, including it takes away local control, it is vaguely drafted, there's no connection to transportation, which should always be a key component of a housing bill. It changes the building envelope in certain areas of our county. It changes the height limit significantly in single family zoned areas. It's not compatible with neighborhoods. It will disrupt the general plan process. And there were a couple others that I'm sure I did not capture. One last comment was the fact that with what's going on right now with COVID, and a lot of the uncertainties, is now the right time to be doing a bill like this. So for all those reasons, the committee voted. I think it wasn't a unanimous vote, but a significant majority voted to send a letter opposing. And we discussed whether or not we wanted to do oppose unless amended. And the consensus was no, we just wanted to oppose it.
Okay. And so is there any comments or questions from anybody on the board? And let me go to the different views. No comments. Okay, thank you, Nisa.
Is there any comment?
We'll do public
public.
for all three
Okay.
at the end.
Okay.
Easier. Next up is an update from the Transportation Committee. Margaret?
Thank you, Chair. Although we need to vote on the recommendations.
Oh, actually, yeah, Nisa, we do need to vote on that, correct?
Yes, because we only make recommendations to the board. I wasn't sure if you're going to leave it till the end of the.
No, it's actually, so let's, oh, so I see, yeah. Let's go ahead and do that now. So we will take public comment on this item before we have a motion. Anyone, any member of the public who wishes to speak for this item? Seeing none. Is there a motion?
Just for the public, *6 and *9 are your keys to toggling mute and raising your hand. So if anybody would like to speak, give them a second. I don't see anything.
Okay, good. Is there a motion?
So moved.
A second.
Just a second. Thank you. Okay, Andy, let's go ahead and do.
Okay.
Voice vote.
Campbell.
Aye.
Cupertino.
Aye.
Gilroy.
Whoever's chewing needs to mute.
That was an aye.
Okay. Los Altos.
Yes.
Los Altos Hills.
Aye.
Los Gatos.
Aye.
Milpitas.
Aye.
Montecito.
Yes.
Morgan Hill.
Aye.
Mountain View.
Aye.
Palo Alto.
Abstain.
San Jose.
So I have a split vote. So aye for the letter, abstain from AB 1279.
Santa Clara.
Aye.
Saratoga.
Aye.
And Sunnyvale.
Aye.
Okay, so
both pass with,
okay, got it.
okay.
Andy, you are getting some indication that one of the attendees, 1510-304-4968 has been trying to speak during this. It's a telephone call.
Hi, the person at 510-304-4968, would you like to speak?
Hello?
Hello? All right, well, I will mute them.
Okay. Okay, So both of those pass with, and we'll have the final vote in the minutes. Next up is the Transportation Committee update. Margaret?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So the Transportation Committee met yesterday, and we went over the various topics that were brought up during our goal setting. And what we've decided to do, in light of just the shortness of time left in the year, is to do some informational items. We're looking at maybe doing the Zoom call videos as they did for with the DA on EV charging stations, and update on Caltrain and VTA, including bike ped projects and how they're funded. And then we'd like to take more time to work on policy positions regarding alternative funding options. So other than sales tax measures, looking at other ways to fund transportation. And the other one being telecommuting, how to encourage telecommuting to continue past the sheltering in place order once it's lifted. So we want to explore policy options that cities could consider to encourage, continue to encourage telecommuting. And that's the conclusion of my report. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret, and thanks for keeping it very succinct. Are there any questions from any of the members? Seeing none. Is there any questions from the public? Go ahead and unmute yourself if you need be. Okay. I don't see anything else. So Margaret, as far as going forward, another, how do you see the subcommittee going? As far as
with the policy items, we're gonna be working on that as a committee as a whole, and then we'll bring it forward. We'll ask to have it agendized at a future board meeting.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you very much. Next up is ABAG and Plan Bay Area, and updates from Liz and Chris. First up, Liz.
Right, and I'll do that, and then Chris can chime in. So
Thank you.
we each have posted on the website some notes from me. One is that what I'm going to say now is an update from a panel that was held this morning from housing advocates, and to a lengthy conversation with Brad Paul from ABAG MTC, mostly with good news. I will bring your attention to hold the date. There is a General Assembly on June 11th, and that is where the representative from each of the 101 cities goes, typically to San Francisco. And the details of that meeting are not done, but it is an important meeting, and your representatives for each city should plan on attending as that information comes out. 2 is urgent application deadlines. We've been mentioning this for quite some time about LEAP funds. There's substantive amounts of money for each city. The application is due May 31st. It may require your council action. It is possible, based on the conversation today, that with the budget cuts proposed by the governor, this money may go away. So lickety split for anybody who hasn't applied. Strongly, it could be $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 each city. So don't ignore it, as the phrase goes. The next item is the questions at the bottom of the memo, which is that the most important thing that the agenda is likely to talk about is the BAFA. That is the Bay Area Housing Finance Authority, BAFA. That's a term you're going to want to understand and remember. It is the outgrowth of Assembly Bill 1487, which requires housing legislation for housing and homeless. And as I mentioned last time, there is a survey out. It was prepared by the Housing Consortium, and the questions may or may not have been appropriate, but ABAG chose not to fund it themselves. There is an expectation that the results will come back tomorrow, and on Monday will be discussed. It is expected that they will not be favorable to move forward with a ballot measure for this coming November. It's anybody's guess, but that's what is expected. It's for $35. It's a bond measure for $35 per 100,000 evaluation. And so it's not a small amount of money. It's intended to generate $1 billion per year for a 10-year period. So unless there's a discussion here tonight to be otherwise, one is if the survey doesn't support going forward, that will conclude that aspect of it. Two, if it does recommend going forward, I would anticipate not supporting it unless the board gives me direction otherwise, or Chris has some other thoughts on that. Two, is part of the legislation is that BAFA has to be established. And very short version is that this afternoon, there was a first meeting of the BAFA Technical Advisory Committee, and there were two documents produced, which I will give to Andy to update you, and it'll explain a lot about what the ballot measure would or wouldn't be and how the organization would or wouldn't run. So I recommend perusing that when you have time. It's important information. Two is the ABAG MTC has been asked and cannot answer right now if they are going to be eligible to apply for some COVID-19 CARES Act funding or some HEROES funding. That's one of the reasons they would like to keep the BAFA group going. And it'll be interesting to see what they come with that. The goal is to try and find some kind of funding to allow planning for a regional housing initiative, even if the ballot measure doesn't go forward. But there's no money to fund it at ABAG MTC. They have now done a 5% budget cut, and they are down 27 staff, and they have frozen their staff. So it's going to be a difficult time for them to do any substantive work on that. The final question is, do cities support postponement of the RENA and Plan 2050 process? As of this afternoon, ABAG MTC and the ABAG president, Jesse Aguina, has sent a letter to the governor and the legislature asking for clarification because cities will have great difficulty preparing housing elements and responding to RENA challenges during the economic downturn and anticipated staffing reductions. So we don't know what the results on that will be. That's all I've got.
So I have a question, Liz. Can you expand on that funding of the cities asking for those funds? Do you happen to know which cities have asked already?
I do not.
Okay, so how do I?
Just ask your staff.
Okay, I'll ask them. Okay, thank you.
Chris, do you have some comments?
I don't have a lot. I don't have a lot to add. I think the real key upcoming milestones will be we'll get the polling and survey data back on the ballot measure probably in the next week. I doubt that's going to show a lot of support for or at least a critical, a critical amount of support that we would need to put something on in November. And so I think what's likely to happen is the folks, unless the polling data is completely different from what people are expecting, that probably won't move forward, but we'll probably go ahead and stand up the Bay Area Housing Authority that Councilmember Gibbons talked about, just because there may be federal and state housing funds that it can accept and distribute. So that'll probably end up being stood up even if the ballot measure doesn't move forward. And then I I think the only other thing is there probably won't be any modeling data back on the Plan B Area 2050 until the summer. And then assuming there isn't a delay that comes from the state, which is still possible. It sounds like if we're trying to clarify that with the governor and the legislature, I think that will, assuming there isn't a delay, that will pick up over the summer and fall. But those are, Councilmember Gibbons gave a really good overview. Those are sort of the key areas that we'll be working on in the next month or two.
Okay. And then do we have questions? And I had a question off the top. Thanks Chris and Liz. As far as the June meeting, so I don't think I received an invite to that. So I could be wrong. Has that went out to all the reps?
The answer is, as far as I know, yes, but I can double check on that.
Okay.
Is the annual meeting?
Okay.
I can confirm I got it, Larry.
Okay.
Gilroy
Okay.
got it as well.
Okay. Then it just must be lost in all the email. Okay. Any questions for Liz or Chris or comments? Any raised hands? Seeing none, does anyone from the public wish to speak? Just go ahead and unmute yourself and talk now. Okay, seeing none. So Liz and Chris, I want to thank you for continuing to bring this forward. You know, it's in monitoring what's happening here. Thanks for the updates, Liz. You know, and I think Andy will be distributing these to everyone and making sure that we're all up to date on this. I agree with Chris that I think the polling will show that there is not interest at this point for a ballot measure as far as the counties are concerned. So we'll see how this goes forward though. But I do think it's important, and thanks for the hard work on this. It is ever changing right now, but it affects all of our cities very closely. Okay. So I will now move on to the next item on the agenda. Adopting a resolution denouncing xenophobia and anti-Asian sentiment due to COVID-19, and affirming the Cities Association of Santa Clara County support of and commitment to the well-being and safety of Asian American communities. And so this was something that the executive board discussed. You know, several of our cities have done it. The county has done it already. The county, I think, was first, and then several of our cities have also done similar resolutions at a city level. So I don't know if everybody's had a chance to read it. Andy, did you? So as part of, you might want to bring it up from a presentation standpoint. Thank you very much. And I think, you know, for me, it's really important because of mainly what's happening at a federal level. And I think that as a cities association, it really makes a lot of sense that we, you know, make this resolution. It's very similar. Well, it's a different resolution, but it was similar to several resolutions that we've done, you know, over the last few years in response to what was happening at the border or other items that have been happening in our communities to make our communities feel safer. And I think as a cities association, it's, you know, it's important to uphold the values of all of our residents, all their nationalities, all their backgrounds, all their religions. And I think, you know, to me, this is something that one of the reasons why we're meeting as our 15 cities and talking about the issues and showing unity on issues like this. So are there any comments?
Yes, Larry, I have my hand up.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead, Deb.
Okay, I just wanted to say that the city of Santa Clara is totally in line with the resolution because it basically aligns with our city's mission statement that we promote living, working environment that allows the best quality of life for our community with resourceful, efficient, progressive, and professional leadership. So we are totally in support of this, and I would like to make a motion to go forward with this resolution.
Okay. Is there any other comments first from anyone?
I'd like to, I'm not
Go.
in the right place to raise my hand, Larry.
Go ahead.
Thank you. It's Mary Lynn.
Yeah.
I agree with everything that Debbie has said. We in the past have issued, the city of Saratoga have issued similar resolutions, proclamations. I would like to know, because I didn't see it anywhere in the agenda staff report, how far we can put this out there, because I want it to spread. I want it as recognizable as we possibly can make it.
So, Andy, we could definitely try to do a press release or get some additional press. I think it's important, definitely the county got a good amount of press when they did that. And I think it makes sense from a cities association, especially seeing that we've gotten a little more notoriety in the last month. And so I think it would make sense to let's see what we can do. But I'll work on that. I'll touch base with the Merck, my contacts at the Merck and a few of the other papers and see what we can do. But I do think it's important. So I agree.
Thank you, Larry.
Anyone else wishes to speak on this? Margaret.
Thank you. I wasn't sure if there was a second, but if there isn't, I'm happy to second it. And I just want to thank everyone for your support. Mountain View did a similar resolution a few weeks ago, and it was very enlightening because after we did the resolution, I started hearing from folks in the Asian Pacific American community about incidents that they've been experiencing. My husband himself had an incident. So this is, alive, and even in the Bay Area where I consider us much more accepting of diversity, it still happens. And to be able to make a statement like this, I think really is reaffirming and reassuring to our community. And Mountain View, one of our goals is to be a community for all. And I think that's something that we could all share amongst our cities. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Margaret. Next up is Liz Niss.
And we also put out something like this, but a good place for this to get coverage and more discussion is in a Human Relations Commission. I imagine everyone has one, correct? And that's where ours came from and where it's made a difference, I think. But I think, Margaret, what you said is absolutely true. It's been a trying time. And I think this goes a step toward at least improving what's going on to a certain degree.
Okay, thank you very much. Next up is Stephen Scharf.
Yeah, this is great. I support it. We've had several incidents in Cupertino, and I would just suggest, Larry, that we try to get this out to the newspapers with larger circulation, which are Singtao Daily and World Journal, the two major Chinese newspapers, which probably have a bigger circulation in my city than the Mercury News.
Okay.
I do have a list,
Okay.
a press list, but it would be great for those of you to make sure that I have the contacts that you have on my list. So that would be helpful.
Sure. I'll send you that contact.
Great. Thank you, Stephen.
Great. Next up is Jan Pepper.
Yes, I was just speaking to say that we support this. We passed a similar type of resolution at our council meeting on Tuesday. I haven't heard of any particular incidents in our town, but we certainly support the idea of people being kind and nice and not discriminating against others. So I fully support this.
Thank you very much, Jan. Next up is Michelle Wu.
Yes, I was wondering, I definitely support this resolution. I was wondering if we pass this resolution, can myself request this being published at our local newspaper called the Los Altos Town Crier?
Absolutely. So we'll forward this on to you. Well, once it's been signed, and definitely we can give it to you. It's part of the packet tonight also. Andy?
I have a kind of an extensive list. It does need to be updated a little bit, but I believe that the town crier is on it. But it'd also be good that when I get it signed and everything, I'll send it out to you, and you're welcome to send it out to your personal press contacts as well.
Okay.
Absolutely. Anyone else who wishes to speak on this? And from a Sunnyvale standpoint, we haven't done a resolution specifically for this. We have a statement of values that we updated in the last year, and it basically encompasses xenophobia and what this resolution is basically there for. And that's one of the reasons why I think it's good to show unity at a county level, and whether or not any of our cities how many of our cities want to duplicate this, it's up to them, of course. I see no other panelist comments. Oh, thank you.
Paul from Campbell.
Sure.
And I'll support this. We're similar to you. We have a statement of values. We also have an equitable cities resolution. So this is consistent, so I'll support this.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any board member who wishes to speak? Seeing none, is there any member of the public who wishes to speak on this? Talking is currently permitted, so unmute yourself and go ahead. Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. Can we go ahead and do a voice vote?
Campbell?
Aye.
Cupertino?
Aye.
Gilroy?
Aye.
Los Altos?
Yes.
Los Altos Hills?
Aye.
Los Gatos?
Yes.
Milpitas?
Aye.
Montecito?
Yes.
Morgan Hill?
Aye.
Mountain View?
Aye.
Palo Alto? Liz? Liz Ness?
I don't see Liz. Where's Liz?
Just gotta find that mute. Aye.
San Jose?
Aye.
Santa Clara?
Aye.
Saratoga?
Aye.
And Sunnyvale.
Aye.
It passes unanimously.
Thank you, everyone, especially for the unanimous vote. It actually makes any press release or any press that we get actually make a lot more sense and carry a lot more weight. So thank you all for that. I appreciate that. Next up, if I get to my right window, sorry, is a discussion of actions concerning COVID-19. So we're only 15 minutes behind, so not too bad after starting quite a bit late. So thank you, everyone, for keeping it succinct. And definitely, as far as this meeting, as far as last meeting was concerned, I think some of the discussions that we had were really important. And out of that, came the mayor's letter and discussions that we've had since then. And there's been a lot of kind of side discussions, but COVID-19 and the effects on our cities have been greatly evaluated in the last few weeks. And we don't know, we're all going through our budgetary process right now. And so there's a lot of things going on. And so I'll kind of just open it up to the board to a certain degree. We can go through, there's several items. We can first talk about the Santa Clara Board of Supervisors, and I'll let Liz Ness speak on that first. And then we can go through testing and tracing, but that's kind of, I appreciate Liz's, carrying the baton for this. She's been, let's say, pushing the board and being very active. And I think that's been helpful for all of our cities. And the letter from the 15 mayors got a lot of good press and a lot of good response from the supervisor. So Liz, do you want to speak for a few minutes on this?
Yeah, I'd be glad to. Thanks, Larry. I think the wonderful part of this is that it actually caught their attention. And we've been trying for a long time just to catch their attention. And as it turned out, Joe had been trying the same, and so had Sam. They both had said they were so frustrated. It had been several weeks that they'd been frustrated. So Joe is meeting tonight, as you know. And I asked one of my colleagues to be there and let me know what they were saying. So one of the things that I heard is that Joe and Susan Ellenberg she describes it, a lengthy special meeting with staff today on testing. They've been doing a lot more on testing. But also, and Margaret, this says the county testing site is likely to be in Mountain View. Did you know that? Are you on, Margaret?
No, I didn't know that. Oh, thank you for letting me know.
Well, I've been pleading and asking and almost anyone I can tell, but we're up to 1,300 a day now. But you remember we need to get to 4,000.
Right.
So this is bits and starts. So also 1,000 contact tracers are needed. So let me tell you one more thing that I think is really significant and important. The reason we're getting testing and tested and so forth is it gives you an entire picture of the community you live in. It can tell you where your hotspots are. It can tell you where you've had very little activity and so forth. And to that end, I'm not quite sure how to do this, even though I used to do PR for a living as well. But we need to get more normal people tested.
Right.
So I went over to Hayward last week, and this week I actually went to Stanford and actually got it done, Larry. I couldn't believe it. Took so long. And then today I dragged my husband over to Hayward because Hayward's still the easiest one to go to. So I think that if we can spread the word of how important getting tested is, whether you have any symptoms or not, you can get tested. Asymptomatic, you get tested. I've done it at Hayward and I've done it at Stanford. So I hope all of you will think about getting tested and bring somebody you love with you to get tested, because it's relatively easy, but most people are slightly afraid to have it done. So unless they think it's important, but I don't quite know how to get the word out that this picture of us as an area, as a region, is so important for our reopening, to go back to our economy. So I would love to have the help of the association and whomever else is in our cities spreading the word. And not just spreading the word, but call your paper when you've had a test. Say, I got tested. And it costs nothing. And it takes all of about 5 minutes once you actually get the appointment set up. So I don't mean to totally evangelize, but I actually do. Because for us to go the next step is going to take a big push. And we are the leadership on this. We really are. There's not another group out there that is, ringing bells and saying, hey, let's get tested. So does that make sense to all of you? I don't want to sound like, as I said, I'm evangelizing, but I sort of am. And I would take comments from anyone, but I know that Joe is working really hard on it. He's got his meeting tonight, which is why I have somebody giving me information on that. So Margaret, I think you and I need to talk tomorrow about where that site's going to be. And I didn't even know it was going to happen. So I'm very pleased.
Oh, go ahead, Margaret.
Liz, where did you see that again?
Actually, Allison Cormack just sent it to me. She just said that Joe said that tonight at the meeting.
Oh, okay.
Remember, he's having a meeting. He's zooming in another arena tonight. But she said that it looks like the testing site will be in Mountain View. So the mayor is always the last to know, right?
True. Yes. I'll just have to. I'll circle back with staff. Thank you.
Yeah. So I will. And I will see if I can find out. Our city manager hasn't been enormously enthused, and that's made it very difficult.
Okay.
So, anyway.
Stephen?
No, thank you, Liz, for taking the lead on this. And I just cannot understand our county's health department's reluctance on several fronts with testing and face coverings. And I echo Liz that a lot of people they've almost given up on being tested because they believe they have to have symptoms in order to qualify for a test. And that's what I thought. And my wife tried twice to get a test, and she's a nurse and couldn't get it. So it's good to know that it is possible. Thank you.
It is possible. And if I could get it at Stanford, you know you can get it. And if you have to, you simply say to them, you know, the governor has said we can be asymptomatic. We do not need symptoms to get tested. And most of them will listen. Not everyone has read all the rules, and that's part of the, that's big. This is a moving target, you guys. You know, you don't wear a mask, and then all of a sudden, up, we've all got a mask on. So it's been tough to follow this sort of not very centered issue that we've been dealing with. And I'm the same, Stephen. I wish we had more strong guidance from the county. I'd appreciate that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Liz. And
thanks for giving me the floor, Larry.
no, and it's important. And you know, our next items were about testing and tracing. And that is one of the things that from a mayor's standpoint, so one of the things that the letter from the 15 mayors kicked off was a response from the county. It looks like we're doing weekly meetings now with at least 2 of the supervisors and some of the executive county health people, and figuring out what, you know, where testing is going to go. And then of course, moving on to tracing. We had from our meeting last week, we raised questions about, you know, what, and everyone should have received a letter regarding tracing and assistance from your different cities. So it's definitely speak to your city managers about whether or not there are available staff that could actually help out there. That being said, what the county was doing, or was the county was requesting initially was 32 to 40 hours a week for 6 to 12 months after 4 to 8 hours of training. And so I understand that most of us are dealing with budgetary issues and have moved staff around as much as possible. If you still have staff at home, definitely the county is interested in, you know, helping if you have available staff to deal with tracing issues. So I think that's really important. But there is the ongoing question of how much can it be a part-time effort? Can it be, you know, there's the privacy issue, as well as the how much time of staff ultimately is going to take, you know, to consider that we donate, you know, 5 people for the next year to the tracing issue helps the county to a certain degree, but with no concept of compensation back, there starts becoming the issue that we're all dealing with right now, which is the budget. Right. So
we just finished ours last night at midnight. It's a very, very painful process this year.
Yeah.
Painful, right. So I think as a group, we also need to think long-term. All the state universities, as you know, are not starting till next January. Huge change. You know, it's kind of like, where does this end? And right now, the difficult part is there is no end that we can identify as that's the end. And we're told that even if you reach something that looks like the end, it probably isn't. So it's a hard way to live, feeling like you never can quite make any plans, and you're not quite sure how you can ever go anyplace again. It gets a little uneasy, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Steve Preminger, would you care to say anything on this? It's up to you.
Thank you. I just wanted to say the mayor's meeting Saturday, we heard Jeff Smith make a commitment to have testing in North County. So I think that was in part a follow-up to the request from the northern cities. I think there needed to be one anyway, so that the distribution of testing sites throughout the county was able to have people not need to drive too far to get testing. But to Liz's important point about only so many people have been tested, part of our problem as a county is we're not finding people coming in to get the testing, as well as people making appointments and then not showing up. So we send out almost daily an email to all of you and your counterparts, giving you information, giving you locations, and please do what you can to let your residents know that this is available, because Liz is right. We really need to get up to at least 4,000 tests a day till we can have confidence that we understand where this thing is, and then send out the contact tracers to help isolate.
Yep.
So one thing I would add that makes a difference, and whatever you can do in your particular area, in Hayward, and I'm not pushing Hayward in another county, but they have been very proactive. And at the end of the day of testing, at around 4:30 or 5, they go out as a mobile unit to nursing homes, rehab facilities, apartment buildings that are, are suspect and so forth. And they pick up an awful lot of positives going out in a mobile way. And I think that's one of the things we should think about in our county is how can we mobilize a mobile unit to go in our particular cities. I'll ask Steve if he'll follow up on that and tell us where we can get all those mobile units.
Sure. We are, pretty much putting this thing together. I won't use the airplane analogy because thank God we haven't had a lot of airplane complaints lately, but we are trying to do a lot of different things. So the enthusiasm from the council members and the mayors is helpful.
Thanks.
Thank you, Steve. Question from Mary Lynn.
You're on mute.
There we go. What Liz was talking about, I thought that there were, and I'm hoping Steve, you may be able to speak to this, that there were dedicated units for the long-term care facilities where they were going out and making sure the protocols were followed. But are they able to do the testing there at this point or not? Do you know?
We are sending people out where we hear there are problems. I don't know the answer to that. I'll check. It would certainly make sense if we go out there where there's a few people that we know are positive, that we test everybody. Those are obviously hotspots here all across the country, and I think are some of our greatest concern.
The city of Saratoga has two long-term facilities, Saratoga Retirement Center, which is a larger, a more open facility, and the villas, which used to be known as Our Lady of Villa Fatima, Fatima Villa. And Villa just had a huge outbreak in the last 2 weeks, I believe. And so I'm hoping that they'll be able to continue to, once they've recognized it, that they can get the testing out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So just think though, for all of you looking at me right now, can you commit to go get a test next week? You don't have to nod, you don't have to say anything. Just think, how do I get a test? Because I took my husband today, and you would have thought I was taking him, to get one of those inoculation shots. It was like, right. I'm not going. Once it was over, he was just fine.
Okay. Any other question? Go ahead.
I have a question, Liz. So a few weeks ago, I got an email from Stanford talk about testing. When I click on to say try to start, after a few steps, I got the email. The survey came back to say you're not qualified because you don't have the symptom, coughing, fever, or any others. So the whole ball got dropped. I would be interested to go for testing if I know that I can walk there and I get tested right away, and it's available and easy. But right now it seems like all the testing sites it's hard to reach.
I couldn't agree more. Stanford was 5 telephone calls. And I persisted because I really wanted to know how hard it was to make that happen. So I always feel awkward stressing that another county has done a great job, but they have done a great job. And that you can drive up, you can drive through, and virtually no questions asked. They're ready to test. But
right, even if you call, you did a 5 phone calls, and I suppose you also tell them you have symptoms. Did you tell them you have? Because I asked somebody who got into the test. I said, "How did you get the test?" They have to. They kind of like have to say that you have some kind of COVID-19 symptom in order to get tested. Did you say anything, or you say I'm healthy? I have
no. I said I am following the governor's orders. The governor has said we should be tested whether we have symptoms or not. And I said, I'd like to speak to a supervisor if you can't help me with this. So she decided she could help me with it, and I got an appointment. So I was.
I can't get in because I don't ask for speaker supervisor, and I don't have symptoms. I think for majority of the people, they'll probably just not go, because that's gonna make it a very difficult.
I think you're right. They're making it hard. So maybe this new site in Mountain View will just be a drive-through, easy to get to, that Margaret doesn't know about.
Well, there are a lot more
We'll
sites.
We'll make it friendly.
I don't know.
Go ahead, Stephen.
There's a lot more sites every day, exponential number of sites opening up. So I think people will find it easier than it was yesterday. So I think that's the good news. Not many of the sites are county sites. They're private,
Yes,
they're PAMP, they're Kaiser. There are a whole bunch of different organizations doing the testing. So I appreciate that it is hard to figure out where to go. Again, the newsletter that we send out almost daily will have a link in it that you can click on to find out from our public health website all that we've learned lately.
My concern, Steve, is that I want a site that you can just drive to, that you can drive in, you can drive up, you don't have to have an appointment, and it's free and it's done with. And then I think people will do it. If we're making it difficult.
I agree with the Liz. If you make it easy, people will go. Right now, it's too hard.
Okay.
Steve, I know you'll carry that back.
Oh, I don't know if you guys can see, I've shared my screen. Oh,
yes, yeah.
And this is great. Now the county has added a map with all the testing locations on it.
But you've got to belong to PAMP to get a test. To Kaiser, you can't go to Kaiser without belonging to Kaiser. Those are the concerns I have.
In the county, but the county makes that clear in most of those locations.
Yes, yeah.
So I just sent to everyone, to all the panelists, I just sent into the chat the link to the bit.ly link as far as
and you should be able to see it on your screen right now because I have it up.
Yep.
Larry, thank you for indulging me in my passion.
No, thank you for all your effort, Liz, and going through the process. It's like, I think you're the only one, actually, I think you're the only one here that's actually went through that test and that advocacy.
And now I've done it twice.
Very good.
So the Carmen has her hand up.
Oh, sorry, I missed that.
Oh,
Go ahead, Carmen.
Thank you. So yeah, I agree with Steve. More sites are opening up. Matter of fact, Milpitas just opened up. We just contracted with Igenix. It's a lab, a testing lab here in Milpitas, and so they will be doing our testing. So we contracted with them. We're paying them $75,000. Anyone that wants to get testing and be tested, I think they charge $115 or $120 per test. We do have a county clinic that is free, and of course they have Medicare. We do have a Kaiser clinic, and that one, if you are a member, only if you're a member, you can get a test there. But we also will be doing mobile just like Hayward, we'll be modeling Hayward. And we have an ambulance that we just bought last year. So that our staff will be using that with our paramedics to do testing. So we're doing pretty good in Milpitas. And a couple of weeks ago, I requested our city council to put an executive order that everyone should be required to wear a mask. So I'm not clear, does the county have that? Did they put Steve, have they put an order out or no? It's still only if you want.
There's a requirement that everybody wear a mask if they're in an enclosed place like a store, but they haven't gone as far as I think Milpitas and Cupertino, and I think other cities. I think this Palo Alto city manager said Palo Alto is planning to do that. I understand the point that it would be a lot easier if we had a consistent policy. Everybody understood where they stood. Obviously, I'm not the decider. And by the way, San Jose, I believe, is going that way too. The county has no objections with cities doing that.
Yeah, I hope San Jose does. And the reason why I'm saying this is I went to Home Depot at in East Side, Story Road. It's so different because some of the people just don't take it serious. They were out there like not like it's like night and day. So maybe they need some better education and let the public know that this is a serious, very contagious disease. So yeah, so I think if the city of San Jose puts that order in place, that ordinance, people they'll have to wear it. They'll have to be more.
And when you're in Home Depot, you're required to have it.
Yeah, well, I know. When you go to Home Depot, yeah, you're required. But outside they had food trucks and people were just hanging out like if there was no pandemic. So I think they need some type of, the county needs to be have better education, or the city in San Jose to let the people know that in certain areas that this is very serious. So with that, yeah, we're moving on in Milpitas. We're doing really good. We have a good staff and doing some great things. Thank you.
So this is, sorry for stepping in to say something, but you all, I was just going to suggest that you all have your own bully pulpit, and you have people that follow you maybe on social media, or you have maybe your own email newsletters, but take advantage of the contacts that you have and that people really look for you for guidance, and make some videos telling people how important it is and post it on social media about, wearing a mask all the time, even if it isn't mandated. But anyway, I would just suggest that because you all have a lot more sway with your constituents than maybe you remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
Andy, can you say anything out loud?
What do you mean? Can I say anything? Can you not hear me?
No, we can.
Well, I'm just reading your text and I don't want to say anything if I'm off base.
Oh, hold on a second.
Let's move on for now.
Yeah.
I'll let you take it in the background. Let's go on to Silicon Valley Strong. Chappie, do you want to talk?
Thank you, Larry. Silicon Valley Strong just completed phase 1. And in phase 1, they raised $25 million. They reached their capacity of 4,500 applicants. And they have a waiting list of 12,778. There was some issues when it launched around transparency, process, how things worked, how the money was distributed, as well as conflicts with individual cities. And people like to use the analogy now of building an airplane while it's flying. I use the analogy now of building a parachute while we're falling. And that's what it felt like putting this program together. So we're entering into phase 2. In phase 2, we have a lower amount. So we've gone from about $5,500 per applicant to a range of $500 to $1,000. So they've lowered them out quite a bit so that they can reach more applicants. Another criteria that they changed is they want to target and reach applicants that didn't have access to other financial support, like unemployment. So for our undocumented residents and other individuals who do not have that additional financial support, they want to target those individuals. They also want to address transparency. So it's public knowledge in terms of what the distribution was, and I'm going to rattle it off real quick. So San Jose got 74.71% of the funds. Santa Clara got 4.88%. Sunnyvale got 4.2%. Mountain View got 3.32%. Milpitas got 2.9%. Gilroy got 2.44%. Campbell got 2%. Mountain View got 1.98%. Palo Alto got 1.41%. Los Gatos got 0.79%. And Cupertino got 0.61%. And we can provide that to you, but that's the breakdown that we got from the distribution of the funds. In terms of process, it was recognized that there was some confusion and misunderstanding in terms of how the money was distributed, how individuals or applicants were identified, and the CBOs and nonprofits that were distributing the money or that they were working with to get the money to the applicants. That has been addressed by Destination Home. So they've done a lot of work in terms of revamping the process, trying to have an outreach strategy to get to the CBOs and nonprofits in all the cities in the county to make sure that we have an equitable and fair distribution of those funds. The other issue was conflict. Now, obviously, all of the cities want to make sure that their residents are taken care of. So when you approach corporations or other entities or individuals to raise funds, obviously you're going to ask for those funds to be used in your local jurisdictions. And so we recognize that. But what we want to do is have a strategy of an and strategy, not an either or. So you want the elected officials and people that represent your city to approach these corporations and ask for a contribution for your city to support your local residents. But once they commit to a certain amount of funds to the local city or jurisdiction, then you make the second ask to ask for a larger amount for a regional strategy. And the reason why it's a regional strategy is that a lot of these corporations want to contribute and support their local communities, but when they write the bigger checks or the larger contributions or donations, typically they have a broader view, whether it's a regional perspective, a national perspective, or a global perspective. And so they're two totally separate asks. So what we're trying to do is have an integrated strategy where we can have all of you as elected officials approach those potential donors and have an ask, a two for ask. Support my local community, do everything you can to contribute to my local community, but also contribute to this regional fund where you can make a larger contribution to a broader spectrum and population that impacts our region and our community. So that's really an update in terms of the strategy, what we've accomplished, what we're trying to accomplish. And the ask is for everyone to approach these donors and make those two asks: support your local community and support this regional fund.
Thank you, Chappie. And I appreciate, some of the transparency that's been added over the last few weeks. I think that was, that's always some of the questions when you get all the cities together and wondering, where's the money going and what's the breakdown. And I appreciate the calls that Jen Loving has been doing, and Destination Home and Sacred Heart, and giving updates to not just electeds but the stakeholders, and giving them a better view as far as that's concerned, and then defining what the next stage is and how people can apply to that. I think that's going to be very important. I know it's going to be less money per per household. But that being said, whatever money we can get into the people that really need it is really important right now. So does anyone have any comments or questions?
Steve?
Good.
Thank you. Chappie, you addressed the fiscal picture. I think it would be great to have a little update on the feeding that you guys are doing. The amount of food that you guys are putting through countywide is unbelievable. And I think you should definitely get props for that.
Well, thank you, Steve. That definitely was an oversight on my part. Right now, San Jose is coordinating the distribution of 2.5 million meals a week.
Wow.
Wow.
Not a month, not a year, 2.5 million meals a week. So that just gives you the scale and the context of how dire the situation is and how our residents and our community is suffering through this crisis. And so thank you, Steve, for bringing that up. That was definitely an oversight on my part.
Terrible. Wow.
Any questions?
Any other comments or questions? No, not seeing any.
If nobody has a comment on that, I do have a message, Larry, from Supervisor Simidian's office.
Oh, sure, go right ahead.
Regarding the testing. And so it was reported today at the Health and Hospital Subcommittee, and Supervisor Simidian is the chair of that, that Mountain View, East San Jose, and Gilroy are receiving new testing sites. The greatest communities at risk are based on current infection rates. There appears that there might be a hotspot in Mountain View as to why they are going to North County, and then East San Jose. So it was announced today, and they think that it will probably be brought up in the electeds, the next electeds call.
Well, it was brought up tonight.
Yes.
Yeah, and so Margaret and I are both a little stunned, but delighted, right?
Yeah, sure. I just checked with my staff and no one knows about it. So it would have been helpful to get a heads up, but they've offered a site. So I think we're ready to, offer it to put it up. So
yeah, I'm so, it's such a relief in a way to hear that. I just hope it's free, just free and easy.
Yep. Okay. Andy, I know you also had a spreadsheet that you wanted to display.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know what I've been up to in regards to all of this COVID craziness. I helped coordinate the letter that the mayors all signed. And since then I've had lots of phone calls and conversations, and I also participate in the weekly meetings now with the mayors and Steve Preminger and several supervisors and the chief executive. It was requested by the county and also by several of our congressional offices that I put together a spreadsheet of budget impacts to the 14 cities underneath the cities under 500,000. So actually the cities under 200,000. And I participated in a meeting with, it was one of the subcommittees for the county, Supervisor Simidian and Supervisor Cortese, and it was a federal, Steve, what do they call that committee? Federal Task
Federal
Force?
Affairs Advocacy Task Force.
Thank you. And also participating on that call was their lobbyists in DC. And they had asked us they wanted to get a full picture because they already knew what San Jose's budgetary impacts were looking like. They wanted to know about the other cities. And so we put together a spreadsheet, and at that time, San Jose thought their budgetary impact was about 45 million. And when I added up the estimates for the rest of the 14 cities, it was 62 million. And so I just participated. So the county has asked their lobbyists to advocate for the smaller cities with the federal government and looking for opportunities for recovery money to come directly to the cities as well. And then also the congressional offices had also asked me for the same thing. And while our cities had also done, some of our cities had done an extensive survey with the league, Seth was unable, Seth and I tried to work together to get the league to give us that data so that I didn't have to ask the cities again. The league was unable to give me the data. So that's why I just did a quick survey with the cities. But the league and I was just trying to help advocate for all of our cities on their on your behalf. And then the other item that has come up recently was most of our cities belong to SVITA, which is the Silicon Valley Economic Development Alliance, which is a multi-county alliance of economic development directors. They've been doing a really great job of pushing out information for small businesses, trying to provide support. And turns out that SVITA, and there was a lot of communication going on about some recovery money that the grants available, EDA grants that are available to any city, any jurisdiction in the country. And the grants became available May 7th. So though there were a lot of emails going back and forth of people trying to figure out which jurisdictions are interested in doing a joint effort to apply for this federal grant. And so I have been working with this week, SVITA, it's Clara Gross. We're just trying to bring all of the parties together so that all the cities can talk and figure out if anyone can find a nexus to apply for grants together. So that is something else I've been working on. It is, Cara and I both believe that it is out of our scope to handle that because it would be kind of a large, probably a lot of money and probably more than she or I could handle, but we figured we could help bring everyone together to try to see if everybody could find something to work on. And I believe most of our cities have said that they are interested in seeing if there is a nexus of opportunity. And then also, SVITA provided me, and I already emailed it to everyone, and I'm just going to show you real quick so you can see it's a spreadsheet. It's a spreadsheet of information that SVITA had gathered about what cities are doing and what business, what opportunities or recovery and assistance that they're providing for businesses. And so I've sent you the spreadsheet to have a look at so that you can see.
Thank you.
Like Mountain View, actually, they just have a link to everything they're doing, maybe because it's changing so quickly in Mountain View. But you can all have it's a good, they're also Fremont, Hayward, and Santa Cruz are listed as well. So you can see what other jurisdictions are doing. So that is what's been going on COVID related.
Thank you very much, Andy. And thanks for taking on so much extra work, especially during these times, which haven't been easy. Does anybody have any comments or questions for Andy? Okay, great. And I know we're behind time, but just as a open, well, actually, we'll go to joys and challenges later, so that can kind of encompass whatever people want to talk about as far as that's concerned. Does any member, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Well, this will be an ongoing topic, definitely, for a while now, for the upcoming future, who knows how long. Does anyone from the public wish to speak on this item? Please unmute yourself if you need to. Okay, not seeing anyone. Therefore, we'll move on to the next item, which is public comment on items not on the agenda. So for the members of the public that, do you have anything that's not on the agenda? And you're still unmuted. Seeing none, we'll go to the city manager's report. Kent?
Thank you, Larry. The city managers did have a call this week, and our format now has been to have a short check-in meeting every week, and then once a month to have a longer meeting. And so this week was our longer meeting. Our topic, not surprisingly, was testing and tracing, contact tracing. And we did have the county executive join us this week and answer questions about that and what the requests from the cities are. So we also got an invite from the county to have representatives on an economic recovery functional group, which I think is a staff level group the county started. And the City Managers Association will be represented by Chris Jordan, the city manager from Los Altos, and Deanna Santana, the city manager from Santa Clara. That's it.
Okay. Thank you. Next up is the executive director's report.
I think I filled in on everything.
Okay. So, wow, we've caught up in a big way. Next up is joys and challenges. And so I know that a lot of us are facing, I'll say, some challenges as far as the budget are concerned. So if anyone wants to speak about the budget or what they've had to do internally within their cities or any joys that you've had, I'd be happy to hear. So go ahead and raise your hands. First up is Councilmember Davis. Deb.
Oh, thank you, Larry. So let's do the good stuff first.
Sure.
We got our convention center back. It was deep cleaned, and during the period of April 5th through 28th, we only had 20 patients in there. So that was a good thing. They had anticipated a whole lot more because we didn't know where this COVID was going. We have our daily senior nutrition program. So we have fed, I'm just going to say 7,000 meals over 8 weeks, which is a pretty large amount of people for our seniors. And for our distribution meal program for the students, we have distributed 70,000 meals. So that's a lot. And we keep adding on to that as more and more families are being, let's say, unemployed quickly. The other thing is our small business assistance. We have 101 small businesses that have been awarded $730,000 from funds that we found within our budget. And then an additional 8 businesses are tentatively approved, but we're getting there. So we've had a total of $800,000 put out to help people. And as you know, the mom and pops are the backbone of our world. So we're trying desperately to keep people afloat as much as we can. The bad news is, as everybody probably in this room is going to tell you, is the budget. And our shortfall just to get to December of this year is 10 million. But we think after a meeting that maybe we're close to closing the gap on that one. But 2021, we have no idea what's going to come. So we've estimated about 23 million. So we might use some reserves and some creative financing with some things. We don't really want to cut down a lot of our core services, but we foresee probably not opening up a lot of different things until, as Councilmember Liz Niss has said, if we don't have testing done, we don't know when we're going to be able to sufficiently open. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just hoping that we're going to have some good results, and I'm hoping that our 15 cities are going to be able to survive this economic downfall. And then after listening to the governor and his speech and the shortfall, I should say major shortfall that's going to hit the state, might impact us if they have to change or reallocate funds in different directions. So I guess we're all keeping an eye on that. We don't really want to lay people off. We are really trying to do a furlough so that they can accumulate their benefits. Laying people off, you lose your historical knowledge, you lose quality people, and once they're gone, it's really hard to get them back. So that's my report from the city of Santa Clara.
Thank you very much. Next up is Liz Gibbons.
Oh, I just have some good news.
Good.
We're giving away money, and Margaret can go with me on this one. Last night, the Board of Directors of Silicon Valley Clean Energy confirmed $10 million with an additional $2 million contingency into 3 programs. One is customer relief, where every Care and Farah customer will get a $100 credit on their electric bill. And small businesses have to apply for this one, will get $250 credits on their bills. Then we have a program called Workforce Relief, which is going to be giving workforce people like contractors training in electrification, which is consistent with our mission. And it's a $500 stipend to complete a certain amount of work. And if they do electrification in their own homes, they will be given grants to cover a portion of the costs for things like installing hot water heat pumps and things like that. And the third part is something near and dear to every city. It is called the Community Resilience. And it's a $1 million to be spread across all of our 12 cities for planning resilience. And there's no question that this is being thought of not only for COVID, but for PSPS situations that are going to be coming. And just to give you an idea of the magnitude of the dollars, it's based on the power load that Silicon Valley Clean Energy provides to each city. But Sunnyvale could be eligible for $2 million.
Very good.
You're welcome. You can buy me a drink.
I will.
Right after the meeting's over, right?
And Milpitas is up for 1.2 million, and it goes down to more modest amounts for Saratoga, Los Altos Hills, and Montessorino. But it's a major public statement to help our community members who are struggling the most. That's the CARES and FURA people on electrical bill rates. But cities can get $1 million to do something that will help be resilient. And it's meant to be a construction or tangible improvement to the physical infrastructure of your cities. So it's really quite wonderful. You'll see press releases coming out on this, and you should all be very happy that your investment and support of Violet Valley Clean Energy is coming back to support each and every one of you.
Fantastic.
So would know
Great.
this too.
Thank you. Next up is Liz Niss.
So I just thank you again for indulging me in this. And Margaret and I are really rather stunned, aren't we, Margaret? As Margaret said, even her staff doesn't know. So I think that something comes to us in the North County is really very, very positive. And I hope it is structured so that it's quick and easy and not expensive, because people will go. So that I will give you our other challenge, which wasn't fun. We spent the last 2 nights a total of 23 hours on the budget, and we cut 40 million from our budget of 230 million roughly. And it is an extraordinarily painful process. I hope all of you do not have to cut that much. I understand that Mountain View is actually in better shape than we are by far. So I think I'm just going to whine for a while. I don't have anything to say about that. It's not positive.
Okay.
So I wish you all well with your budgets.
Thank you very much. Next up is Jan Pepper. Jan?
Hi. Yeah, I just wanted to announce that for our city in Los Altos, we've put together a small business relief fund of $250,000 so far. We're hoping that Los Altos Hills will match that because our downtown is Los Altos Hills downtown. Michelle, hint, hint. And we're also.
Yes, I'm here, Jen.
I know you're here, and I'll finish, Michelle. And we're also reaching out to corporations and people who have associations with corporations in a hope to raise that to close to $1 million so that we can help the small businesses in our town. And we modeled our program similar to what you've done in Santa Clara with some modifications, but that was what we looked at first, and we're going to have a lottery system for selecting who will get the funds. So we're very excited about that.
Thank you, Jan.
Can I ask?
Go ahead.
Yeah, can I ask a question on the monies that you're raising? Does that go to the city coffers or does it go to like a nonprofit organization? Because we're trying to figure something like that out in Milpitas.
Yeah, the city is putting the money in, and the city is going to be writing the checks. But for people who want to make additional donations, they will make those donations through the Los Altos Community Foundation because they're a nonprofit that can handle that kind of thing. And then I guess somehow or other, the city will still write the checks.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Next up is Stephen Scharf.
Hi, so 2 weeks ago, we allocated $200,000 for rental assistance. $50,000 was through West Valley Community Services. $100,000 was a long-term low-interest loan program through a credit union. And another $50,000 was through a company called Earnin for zero interest loans. We're looking at small business relief with money we're getting from the federal government. Since we're next to Los Altos Hills, we hope Los Altos Hills will pitch in some money to help us as well.
Well, thank you, Steve. I will think about that. You can let us know what's your proposal.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else wish to speak? As far as Sunnyvale is concerned, one second. Carmen.
Yeah, I just wanted to share. We've been we have an area called the Transit Area Specific Plan. It's right near BART, the future BART station, when it's going to open. It'll be opening up in June, hopefully. So it's been in the works for 2 years. Well, 2, maybe 3 years to get a grocery store, and so we're going to get a Trader Joe's in that area. So that's the good news. So yeah, it's been there for, it's been in the works for a long time. We've been wanting to have that for the community, and so that's the good news. And yeah, I just want to share that. And I'm so glad that construction is back on track, because so many people, especially people of color, work in construction, and they're the ones that are hit the hardest in this pandemic. And so I'm glad that the county is allowed for construction to come back. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And so I'll just summarize from a Sunnyvale standpoint. We did a big press release last week. We've got between corporate contributions and our own contributions, we've now reached about $3 million for nonprofits, for rental assistance, and then of course we're starting our own small business assistance program. So that's the money. So we're figuring out multiple sources overall, but to me that's a big thing for our residents and our businesses. it's difficult for all of us right now. And, you know, we have our budget meeting next Thursday, so it'll be I'll have my interesting day next week, Liz. But definitely it's difficult. We're in not horrible situation for this year, but looking forward to next year, that'll be the big question mark on how quickly things respond, how quickly we recover, and how we respond to that. So, you know, Sunnyvale's in a kind of a unique situation because by charter, we need a 10-year balanced budget. So we've been have conservative expectations in budgeting for the next 10 years. So we'd already been doing that to some degree, and then having additional funds at the end of each year. But now it becomes a very difficult thing on figuring out what services to cut, what projects to delay. You know, that's an important thing that
So,
all of us are facing.
Are you saying you have a 10-year budget?
Yes, so we do budget planning
Wow.
by charter. We have a 10-year balanced budget and a 20-year plan. And the 20-year plan is actually very useful when you start talking to bargaining units, because a 1% increase over 20 years becomes real numbers when you talk to a bargaining unit. It also is very good when you start looking at infrastructure projects, because, you know, if you're looking 20 years in advance, you can say, okay, in 2026 is when we're going to do this road replacement or this bridge replacement in 2031. And so you start looking at bigger projects over a longer period of time. When the last downturn happened, we actually sped up the projects over the next 5 years because we got cheaper bids for all the construction. And so it actually helped out when you really have everything in place from a 20-year plan. So that's our budget, though.
Wow, it's fascinating to hear how differently money is spent in every city. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, and then what the base is for our budgets, and where we focus our incomes on is really different. So anyway, thank you very much to everyone. It's 9 o'clock and we actually caught up. So I appreciate everyone for being succinct tonight, for getting us back on track. And I hope everyone will stay safe. We'll be adjourning the meeting at 9:01 now, and we'll meet again on Thursday, June 11th. So thank you, everyone.
Are some of us meeting? There is a meeting with Cindy, right? On Saturday
Correct.
morning?
Yes, although I don't see it on the calendar yet. Maybe it came through. Oh, no, it did come through. Yes.
I think it came through. The best
Yes.
part is we don't have to drive home.
Yeah, absolutely. But we don't get pizza. So
That's right. No
it's a
pizza.
trade-off. It's a trade-off.
No
Thank you,
more food.
everyone.
Good night.
Very good meeting.
Thank you.
Talk
Stay
to you,
safe.
Margaret, in the morning.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.